Hi guys, welcome to the Ben and Polly channel once again. Today I've got another classic Who ranking for you, which is Sylvester McCoy's 12 television stories, featuring of course his two companions Mel and then later Ace. So we're going to start off with number 12, which is Delta and the Bannermen. Now, this one I really struggle to rewatch, I'm going to be honest with you. I've seen it a couple of times. I really like the, cheesy, cheery goings on of, the holiday camp feel, and it's all very, a bit very 80s, very late 80s, and very, yeah, that's all I can do to describe it really. And it's very far out there, the plot. The whole with the Bannermen chasing after Delta, and it's a bit too wacky for my taste, to be honest with you. I do still find bits of it enjoyable. I do like Mel and I like the Seventh Doctor in it, but the plot itself just isn't engaging enough for me. I usually get bored by part 2 so yeah, not my favourite. Moving on, we have number 11. I'm going to say it's Dragonfire, which is famous for two things. Firstly, the introduction of Ace, of course, and Mel leaving, which makes it iconic and slightly better than Delta and the Bannermen straight away. And then also that famous cliffhanger, literally. If you haven't seen it, I've just spoiled it for you. There is a literal cliffhanger. It's very infamous, but yeah, the plot here again is not up to much. The return of Savalon Glitz from Colin Baker's Trial of a Time Lord, so it was interesting to see him return. But yeah, apart from that, that's all the pluses I've got for you, I'm afraid. Number 10, we're gonna go for Time and The Rani, which is another one with Mel and the Doctor. The Seventh Doctor's first story, in which he is very wacky and crazy and believes that Rani is actually Mel because she's wearing a ginger wig, and it's very, very bizarre. But it is lots of fun, I will grant you that. It does have that rewatch factor. And if you just want to sit back and not really think about anything and just watch it and have a laugh, then you will find it entertaining. You don't get bored, and that's why I have put it at number 10. Number 9, we have Silver Nemesis, which is a Cyberman story, which was actually an anniversary story for Doctor Who, starring Sylvester McCoy and Sophie Aldred as Ace. This one, again, it's a fun time if you just don't take the plot too seriously and you want some craziness with a bit of Cyberman action, which the plot's not really up to much, and a couple of I can't remember where they're from, 16th century maybe, a couple of annoying side characters. Yeah, this is good for comedy moments. There's some good stuff in the beginning with the Doctor and Ace when they're listening to the jazz music and that. Yeah, it's not bad, this one, but again, not the best. We move on to number 8 now, which is super, super fun. I keep saying these are fun, but this era is the funnest you get, to be honest. Paradise Towers, which is another one of the Doctor and Mel. This is the highest one actually of the Doctor and Mel, because it is very enjoyable, very fun, but again, the plot just isn't that great. The plot is quite similar to Happiness Patrol actually, but I find the Happiness Patrol has a much better story, despite the goofiness which it entails, which I shall talk about in a minute. But yeah, there's carnivals in this, there's old ladies who want to eat Mel. So, you can't beat that really, can you? Next we have number 7, Battlefield, which features characters from Arthurian legend. I believe, I can't remember if she's called Morgana in this or Morgan. I think she might be called Morgan. Ginger lady, and some of Ace's friends are in it, and also the Brigadier is back, and that really adds to the atmosphere and the plot and makes the story super engaging. It's very fast paced, this one, and it's just a bit, what the hell is going on? It's got a bit of everything. It's very, very entertaining. There's lots of plot holes for sure. You kind of have to think, did Doctor Who really do this? They do sort of imply that the Doctor is Merlin. Spoiler. It's very wacky, very out there. It seems like it could be a good Big Finish story, actually, because some of those plots, they go, yeah, absolutely crazy, because obviously with audio stories you don't have to be able to film any of it. So it seems like it's one of those, and because of obviously the budget at the time, a lot of the costumes and effects aren't that great. But yeah, this does have some really engaging characters. Unit in it again, and yeah, the Doctor and Ace are quite enjoyable in this. Ace, I believe, yells Geronimo, which, you know, spoiler for the 11th Doctor. But yeah, I enjoy this one. Next we have number 6, Ghostlight, the famous story where nobody knows quite what was going on, but most of the time people have a good time watching it. If anybody can explain in the comments what is going on in this story, I will be internally grateful. I know it's something to do with light, and there's a spaceship, and Nimrod, and I know all the characters, but I still have no idea what was going on. Apparently there was a novelization though, but apparently that doesn't really clear things up that well. But regardless, it is so creepy, this episode. The suspense is there all the time, and I really like the incorporation of Ace's backstory and how manipulative the 7th Doctor is in this, by taking her to a house that she burnt down when she was a child, or, you know, younger. It's very creepy, this. Great music as well, and just the mystery that keeps you sort of gripped, but unfortunately at the end you still don't really know what's going on, so it kind of loses you in that sense, and that's why it's not higher. But I do really enjoy it and recommend it. It's only 3 parts, if you haven't seen it and wanna go what the hell. But yeah, next we have, this is the top 5. These ones I really enjoy and are the best of the best, up there with some of the greatest classic Who stories in my opinion. So number 5, although I'm not a massive fan of the Daleks, the story here is very interesting with what they did in remembrance of the Daleks. The 2 factions against each other. There's a really creepy girl. There's a Dalek hovering up the stairs. The most famous moment in this. There's really great side characters. This one is the real anniversary episode, and we see Totter's Lane again. There's lots of action. There's loads of stuff going on, and even me, who isn't a fan of the Daleks, does enjoy this one. And if I was going to watch a classic Dalek episode, this is one I absolutely go for. So yeah, heavily recommend this one if you are a fan of the Daleks. There's also the famous shot as well where Ace turns on the TV, or she goes into the room and it's already on, and they say, next up is Doctor, and then it cuts off, or something to that degree. So that's quite funny to mark the anniversary of the show. And also the scene where Ace just, you know, bashes up a Dalek, which is good fun. Her going around with her stereo, quite iconic this episode for so many reasons. But next, moving on, number 4, we have The Curse of Fenric, which is a lovely kind of historical tale with some more background on Ace and the Doctor being a bit manipulative. playing chess, and it just reminds me of Mr. Clever in Nightmare in Silver now, him playing chess. Ace, yeah, Ace has some good background. Her and her mum. Spoiler. You shouldn't be watching this if you haven't seen the episodes, to be fair. The villains in this are really creepy. The priest is great, the locations are great, there's action, really creepy music as the creatures emerge from the sea, a bit Sea Devil-esque. This is one of the episodes where the Doctor feels the most mysterious, and you don't really know what's going on with him, but you just have to kind of trust him. And it explores Ace's sexuality as well, just before survival. And she kind of has to use her wiles on this guy, and you're thinking, okay. Yeah, it's kind of a bizarre moment. But yeah, I enjoy this one. Next we have number 3, Survival. I feel like I'm ranting too much, so I'm trying to get on with it. Survival, the last ever episode. Ghostlight was the last one that was shot, of course, but this is the last one televised. I enjoy it as a master story, I enjoy it as an ace story, and Seven is great in it as well. The cheetah stuff I find really interesting, Ace's friends and Paravel, and even that scene where they go in the shop, and it's just, for a moment it's like, what is this EastEnders? Because suddenly, yeah, you get that guy who's in the at the community centre or whatever, and it's a bit like, oh okay, I wonder what Doctor Who would have been like in the 90s. But I guess we'll never know. But yeah, I do enjoy the story, and definitely for the stuff with Ace and what could have become with her, maybe her sexuality being explored a bit more, because basically, if you don't know, the writer of this episode was basically writing the cheetah stuff with Ace as a kind of metaphor for her awakening of her lesbian sexuality or bisexuality. I'm pretty sure she's meant to be a lesbian though, but it didn't really get to be explored for obvious reasons. And then in the I think in the books or something, it might have been explored that she was supposed to be, the Doctor was going to train her to be a Time Lord or some, I don't know. I shouldn't be talking about that when I don't know what I'm talking about, to be fair. But yeah, very, very interesting stuff for Ace. I've been listening to some of the audio dramas, but I'm quite early in, so it'll be interesting to see where that leads with her development. And the new book that Sophie Aldred has released with Ace and the 13th Doctor, which I haven't read yet, but I've got and I'm ready. But anyway, Survival, yes, it's brilliant. The speech with Sylvester going, I'm not even gonna do it. If you find live animals, you'll die like animals, or something like that. That would be embarrassing if that's wrong. Yeah, I just think it's great fun, and I love the speech at the end. So yeah, moving on. Number 2 is the Happiness Patrol, which is, I can't even say more than it's fun, it's crazy. I mean, just look at the Candyman. This is only a 3-part story, but it's got lots going on, and there's no filler, and it's just a great time. And I like all the characters, the Killjoys, and the leader, who is supposed to be a caricature of Margaret Thatcher. It's a very interesting political episode, and the Doctor being very comedic and putting on a little show, and yeah, Ace almost dying. There's lots of stuff that goes on. It's quite crazy, that one. But it cannot be topped by an even crazier episode, which is, if you haven't guessed, Greatest Show in the Galaxy, which it was one of the first Sylvester ones I saw, if not the first, and it's just been the best ever since. I just really like the wackiness of it and all the different characters, and the werewolf and the fanboy and the hunter, and then the people at the circus, the ringmaster, etc. The whole scene where the doctor has to kind of perform and he does the thing with the spoons, which reminds me of Peter Capaldi in Robot of Sherwood. It's the kind of story that only Sylvester would obviously gets away with it. Out of New Who Doctors, I would say Peter Capaldi would get away with it and Jodie would get away with it, because it's kind of, yeah, it's that kind of wackiness. I don't think would work with Matt Smith, because there's a bit of malevolence there that I think the other Doctors would work with better. It's very you know, it's a suspicious situation at the circus. It's very sinister, and the music is absolutely beautiful. I'm a big fan of the music of this episode, and also, you know, just like the side characters, even Bellboy and Flower Child, and, you know, characters that die earlier on, and the robot in the on the bus, which is very similar to the Kablam Man, and then also another tie-in with the Kablam episode, which is obviously the fact that in the beginning it is an advert that they get in the TARDIS, which is like getting the package in Kablam and then going to the place, and Ace is like, you get junk mail. Yeah, Ace is quite hilarious in this episode, being you know, surrounded by clowns, and ooh, they're quite freaky, you know. I'm not normally put off by clowns, but they are freaky in this. Yeah, I just love all the characters, and the fanboy being a kind of parody of the fanboy of Doctor Who. I know there's been some Big Finish audios with Madge the werewolf, but apparently they're not very good, which is a bit disappointing, because I really like her character in this episode, and I like all the characters. So but yeah, I think it's definitely the type of story that there could be a sequel to. I can't imagine them making a TV episode of it now, because kind of what works about it is a bit of the tackiness of the 80s and that feel, I think, with, you know, the fortune teller and everything, which is, and the guy on the moped, and, you know, you would have to reinvent it completely. You couldn't have the same characters, I don't think. It wouldn't have the same feel, but maybe like a novelization, which would be a sequel, would be really interesting. Or a Big Finish audio, which is about them. I don't know if there's ones just about the circus. I have to look that up. But anyway, yeah, that's my ranking. So if you'd like to put your own ranking in the comments, that would be great. I'm a big fan of Sylvester. He's one of my absolute favourites. So do put your opinion in the comments, and like and subscribe if you would like to see more videos. Bye guys.